Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1Mby1M Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. 1Mby1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world for technology startups. We run this out of Silicon Valley with the mission of helping 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And in support of that mission, we do these free mentoring roundtables week after week after week. And as you will see today, in each and every session, there are entrepreneurs coming from all around the world, and it's always a surprise. You know, we don't do a lot of pre-screening. We kind of, try to do first come, first serve and accommodate as many people as possible. And it's just been a fascinating experience meeting over 75,000 people in these sessions over the last 10 years almost. And it's fascinating to see what's happening in different parts of the world. The event is being recorded. This session, as well as all our prior session recordings, are available on our YouTube channel. That's 1M1M Roundtables. It's a great body of learning material. Please feel free to listen and recording as well. If you're live tweeting the show today, use hashtag 1M1M. And our Twitter channels, 1M1M and Romana, are both very rich channels. Lots of educational material, lots of inspirational material, case studies, role model interviews, entrepreneur journey stories, trend stories, thought leadership interviews. So feel free to subscribe and you will constantly receive a steady stream of great content. These are the call-in instructions. We're not quite ready for call-in yet, but make a note. I'll put the slide back up later. This is a round table. So we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. We want to hear your perspectives, your questions, and so forth. But we have some pre-planned programming before that. We're going to start today with Devdutt Yellurkar, General Partner of CRV, Charles River Ventures. Devdutt, welcome. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Samana.
So, Devdutt, I think the first thing I'd like to do is introduce our audience to yourself as well as to CRV's current activities, philosophies, investment thesis, and so forth. So let's start there.
Sure.
Tell us a bit about your background and then also introduce CRV to the audience.
Sure. So I'm still masquerading as a venture capitalist. I'm only 9 years into this gig. I came to this after a 2-year sannyasa in India. I didn't do much work. I think I had done 3 back-to-back startups, and all of them were quite successful. Just before the 2-year hiatus, I spent 8 years building a company called Yantra, which was the first e-commerce platform that eventually got acquired by AT&T and then IBM, and today is IBM's commerce platform. We had 700 employees, half of them in the US and half of them in India. Pure tech, one of the first tech product companies out of India, going back, eventually got acquired in 2004. Prior to that, I was one of the first employees at an Indian company called Infosys, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. I joined them in a very, very small in a hacker house in Bangalore, and we grew from there and built and ran worldwide sales and marketing. The company went public in 1992 in India, and today is one of the most iconic companies out of India. And prior to that, I was just a gopher out of school. I worked for a startup CEO called Peter Baptista, who was starting an automotive braking company. And we had a wonderful run. We started doing something and then eventually ended up doing something completely different, and the company went public and today is part of the German automotive giant Bosch. It's a very, very successful automotive braking company. So I had 3 long runs, I realized that it was about perseverance and hard work, and I needed a break, and I took 2 years off. And then the guy at CRV decided to
What did you do when you took 2 years off? What did you do?
I did nothing.
What does doing nothing mean?
I spent time with my mother in India. I spent time with my wife and child here in the U.S. And I was, I was kind of a couple of the board members from my company had invited me to kind of spend time with them. So I became kind of a venture partner with a firm called Rowe and with Morgan Stanley. So I spent time with them. Just spending time on Mondays
really
with them.
Doing nothing.
After doing three those businesses were marathons, so kind of
I know,
absolutely.
Yeah, intense.
So in 2009, CRV, 2008 actually, the CRV decided to call me and said, hey, why don't you spend some time with us? I joined them as a venture partner for a year, started spending more time with them and figured out whether I wanted to kind of get and work with younger startups. As you know, CRV is an early stage platform, and one of the first investments I made was in a company called Zendesk, which is very successful. We did our IPO in 2014. Today has a market cap of $6 billion. So I kind of got the bug. So I'm still I'm a general partner at CRV. CRV is a fantastic early stage platform. It is, I think, one of the oldest platforms, early stage platforms in the country. We are investing out of our 17th fund right now. And people on the phone may not understand the significance of that number, but there are very few venture firms in the world. Maybe we may be the only one with 17 consecutive funds, and that typically is rare because venture capital is just about a band of people getting together and doing work together, and it's very difficult to do transitions. And as you move from one generation to the next generation to the next, it's very difficult to do that. CRV, has built a phenomenal culture and a phenomenal track record of investing in early stage technology companies, and they bring in people from from the industry, and we all become partners, and then over a period of time, we have this ability to kind of rejuvenate, and we have had kind of a tremendous success over the past 48 years now.
I've known George Zachary for a long time, and when I started 1Mby1M, he was one of the people who wanted to invest in 1Mby1M. So I've had interactions with CRV for many, many, many years. What is the current fund size, Devdutt?
We are the Charles 17 is a $600 million fund.
And what check sizes are you writing these days?
Our focus hasn't changed. We still do early stage, primarily an early stage investor. We do seed, Series A, mostly. The check sizes these days have gone anywhere from $1.5 million for the seed to maybe $7 to $8 million Series A. That's the range in which I think these projects are coming in. Sometimes we do Series Bs, and those Series B checks are $10 to $15 million. And of late, we have started writing a few very, very selective growth investments, and so we have done one or two of them so far, and those are 20, 25 million range. That's typically the range. Seed is $1.5 million to $2 million. Series A is 7 to 10, and then Series B are kind of 10 to 15.
So that's I know you do both. Go on, please.
No, please go ahead.
I know you do both B2B and B2C. Can you double-click down a little bit and talk about how do you define seeds and how do you define Series A in terms of metrics? Let's say, today I'm sure you're doing a lot of B2B SaaS. What is the seed metric that you're comfortable with in B2B SaaS, and what is a Series A metric?
We don't look, well, there are enough blogs out there to talk about what the metrics are. We don't pay attention to that stuff. Our focus is entirely based on the quality of the entrepreneur. We focus on, we have found that to be the single most important variable in the success or the outcome of the company. So we as CRV, over 48 years, we have made over 450, 500 investments. We have got 70, as an early stage company, 75 plus IPOs. And if you analyze that, the common success factor is the quality of the entrepreneur, because markets come and go, technologies come and go. So we kind of over-rotate on the quality of the entrepreneur. And then the price kind of gets settled by the market. You can't control the price. Price is always settled by the market, and the quality, the amount of raise that the entrepreneur is doing just depends on what they're looking to do with that money. So typically, in the seed stage, entrepreneurs are looking to get to a particular milestone, whether they're trying to build a product or they've already built a product and they're trying to get some distribution. If you talk to kind of SaaS companies, if you take just that small vertical, typically, with the cloud and with new technologies that are coming out, you can build product pretty easily. Building is not as difficult. So what we are noticing now, and we are seeing this across the globe, actually, we are seeing entrepreneurs come here from across the globe. They have raised $50,000, $100,000 before, or with an accelerator. They've spent time with some accelerator for 100, and raised maybe $250,000, build some kind of a product, have some customers, and they're trying to understand, can this thing scale? Can this thing get to some form of size? Yeah, and that's when they come in and to raise. Either they raise a little bit of capital from us, or they go to some angels. So that range is typically entrepreneurs try to raise $1.5 million to $2 million, and that is primarily to test distribution. They're trying to figure out whether they can actually get distribution.
Yeah, so the issue that a lot of entrepreneurs in SaaS are facing right now is that there is almost the bulk of the investors are looking for a 1 million ARR before they're willing to write checks. So it's interesting to see your perspective on how you are looking at B2B SaaS. Let's talk about B2C.
Blogs are, I think you have to be careful on reading blogs. People do write a lot. There's a lot of material on Quora. There's a lot of material on blogs, and there are some of these metrics that go down. So I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs come in saying, hey, we've got to 1 million, and therefore we are ready. And that is a good milestone, but that's not the only milestone. You have to I would encourage people to look for some kind of velocity in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on how long it has taken you to get to 1 million.
And also what speed at which it is growing. It may take you 10 years to get to 1 million, but if the revenue started 2 months ago and it started, you kind of got to some kind of, you've understood some distribution mechanics. I think then the question is, how big could this get? Are those channels scalable? Is there enough of a need? Is this strategic enough? What is it that they know that nobody else knows? Those kinds of questions get asked. I think typically we look for entrepreneurs with some kind of a secret. What do they know that not many other people know? Because if they know something that other people don't know, if they're slightly ahead of the game, or if their thinking is slightly different, that actually is very attractive, rather than some obscure number.
Thinking is what builds the defensibility, absolutely. But just to kind of counter your point about what people are writing about, we've had, we have a podcast and these roundtables. We've had hundreds of investors come and discuss their investment thesis the same way you are doing. And it's actually interesting that some are willing to take the velocity risk as long as there is some validation and they're willing to work with the entrepreneurs to figure out the velocity. Some want all of that already proven. So I was just testing where your comfort zone is. Like if everything is proven and you're looking to just, put in money into a proven investment thesis, that's a different kind of an.
In SaaS, it doesn't require a lot of capital to get there. I was talking specifically about SaaS.
And that's
in a horizontal kind of a SaaS product. Now, when you go, SaaS is such a huge category. Like everything is dumped into that. Unfortunately, that four-letter acronym. We have SaaS companies that are building very complex products and are selling. The average kind of customer size is $300,000 to $400,000. Obviously, you're not going to get velocity there, So there is enough of technology risk that we are willing to take for those kinds of companies. Recently, I invested in a company that required $10 million just in the seed round, because it was such monumental technology risk. And we are willing to take that depending on the quality of the entrepreneur. They didn't even have a product.
Would you take that risk on a first-time entrepreneur?
Yes, they are first-time entrepreneurs.
Okay, great. That's very good to know, because, again, that's another hurdle that first-time entrepreneurs face, is that all the VCs want to invest their fast startup capital on repeat entrepreneurs, and they don't want to work with first-time entrepreneurs.
It is always easier to kind of invest in people who have gone through the MBA program.
Sure.
Right. Doing a startup is like doing an MBA. So if you've done an MBA,
it's much more than doing an MBA.
Yeah, it's
MBA
better than
you
doing
can
an
do
MBA.
spreadsheet jockeying to the galore, but being a startup operator requires real metal.
Right, that's exactly right. You kind of, having done that a few times, it is, and I've not done an MBA for the same reason. I think, I think running a business teaches you a lot. Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about the kinds of stuff that you've invested in, and give us a little bit of a view into how you've thought about it. I mean, you started by talking about Zendesk. This is a company that we know very well. We cover it regularly, and also, when one of our biggest success that came out of the program is one of Zendesk's top competitor, Freshdesk. That company came into our program back in 2011, April. So they had just started, and then they were in the program for 3 years. So we got to know that space very well. It was also kind of the beginning of SaaS companies out of India. But Zendesk is not out of India. It's a European roots company, right? How did you encounter them, and at what stage?
That's a great story. They were, the story is in 2009, late 2008, 2009, we were looking at that space. One of my partners at CRV, Izhar, was looking at a company in that space, and he asked me to join him to do some work. And we ended up looking at the space, and I was spending time, and I felt like, the distribution models have inherently changed. And this is 2008. I felt that, people in their 30s, who were in their 30s then, had grown up on the internet. They'd grown up buying their stuff on Amazon, had grown up on auctions and eBay, were comfortable with email. and were pretty comfortable with technology. So they were able to kind of search for and buy technology without having to deal with IT. And that in 2008, 2009 was quite revolutionary. And I came across, while doing that work, I came across this company in Copenhagen. And I just found, at that time, Twitter had just launched. And as you know, we are the first investor in Twitter. And Twitter search had just launched. And I went and searched on Twitter for sentiment around Zendesk. And all I found was just pure love. You know, like everybody was saying very positive things about it. That is a rudimentary research. So I went on Google, searched for the founder of Zendesk, and I came across his number. The poor guy had left his number behind on some conference that he had gone to. I cold called into him. It was, I think, not middle of the night, but pretty late in the night in Copenhagen. And I called him and I said, hey, listen, I'm from CRV and I found you on the net and I find you pretty interesting. Can I come to see you tomorrow? And, you know, I just found so much love and passion for the product that I felt like I should go there. And in the meantime, I'd asked a couple of my friends to start using the product, and it was so easy to use that I felt like I should go meet them. So I flew down the next day, and I went up to their loft. The three founders were there, and we spent the whole day talking about life and business. And Mikkel and Alex and Morten were, you know, they were unique people. Mikkel had built and implemented support systems before, and I found that he had a very clear sense about what you need. His philosophy was 80% of the people need only 20% of the functionality, and I just want to design that 20% of the functionality as well as anybody else. Morten was very early to the cloud, and he said, rather than hosting this somewhere else, I'm just going to host it on the cloud and using Ruby. And Alex was a designer. And for the first time, I found in enterprise software, now this is going back to 2008, 2009, that a designer, you know, a kind of a visual designer was part of the founding team. And, you know, I had not seen it in enterprise companies. I'd seen them in consumer companies before. Sure. But this was radical. It was a radical shift. And I just felt like these guys were onto something special. And they had already raised like $500,000, and they were trying to kind of make do. I also, I caught them at maybe the right time. This was, you know, the world had kind of melted by then. The financial crisis had hit, and most of the venture capitalists went run away from venture capital. And I was naive and stupid enough not to understand the significance of that. So I said, great, you know, I like this three and I should invest. And when everybody else was not investing, I was investing. So I just got, because I was naive and stupid. And, you know, I put some money behind them.
And how much were they doing at this point? They obviously had so much love from customers. That's how you discovered them. They had revenues. And this is something that I like about European companies. European companies are more fundamentals oriented.
Yes, yes. They were doing, I think, $30,000 a month. So $300,000, $50,000 ARR maybe. But,
yeah,
you know, it was just the love for the product was amazing. It's just amazing because, you know, simple device. It was like Slack. You know, it's you know, people were just signing up and using it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that was very. I think that was the way I found them.
Yeah. What are other highlights in your portfolio that illustrate other ways that you think about businesses? This is very helpful, by the way, and in understanding you as a person and how you like to approach investment. So any other case study, so to speak?
You know, there was recently, you know, have you heard of Amy Chang?
Sure.
Amy is now a senior executive at Cisco. But prior to that, she was a senior executive at Google, and she was one of the first, one of the early Googlers. And she built and ran Google Analytics, and she's a legend in the industry. And she was thinking of doing something new. So she had left Google, and she was advisor to a few companies, and she was thinking of doing something new. And her CTO, Matthias Ruhl, who kind of is one of the key guys at Google, they were thinking of kind of doing something, but she had a 2-slide deck. I think the first slide said, your Dunbar number is 150, and I want to solve for that. That was the second slide. Basically her point was that you don't remember more than 150 people. And today's networks are more than 150 people. You know a lot of people, and the more people you know, the more kind of better, stronger the ability to kind of the networking and relationship management is a huge part of the success of people. And she said, look, there's a natural limit to your brain of 150. Some people have slightly more, some people have slightly less. But what if I can augment that and expand your Dunbar number? And, because of who she was, it was a hyper-competitive project with all the top firms in the industry kind of wanting to invest in her. And, somehow she got convinced that maybe because I have more empathy, because I was an entrepreneur before, and understand how tough it is. And that was the first time she was being an entrepreneur. She had been an executive before. So she was taking a plunge, and I think she felt more comfortable that I'll maybe be a better board member, more empathetic board member, and that not that I'll teach her how to run a business. I mean, she can teach us in her sleep, but just deal with all the uncertainties of building a business. And we came to a handshake agreement on a Saturday, and by Tuesday the money was in her account. So it was very, very quick. It was primarily because we thought we still think that she is very special and as an entrepreneur, and she was solving for a very complicated problem. And it's very rare to see somebody who has this relentless pursuit of opportunity and wanting to chase down something that's very gnarly and complex, and his ability to, we at CRV, we have something called founder quotient. As I was telling you earlier in the call, we specifically we over-rotate on quality of entrepreneur. And one of my partners, Sargur, has written, I think, a great post on this called founder quotient. So we look for, is the person able to recruit people? Is the person able to inspire people? Is the person able to raise capital? Does the person have a unique insight, a secret that nobody else knows? So there are multiple attributes that we look at, and we sum it all up into something called founder quotient. And Amy's founder quotient was off the charts. Off the charts. So yeah.
What happened? She left to go to Cisco?
No, she built the company, and the company just got acquired by Cisco.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it.
It was a very, very successful, very short period of time. It was a massive exit to Cisco. She's very successfully, she's now part of Chuck Robbins' executive team.
And what is the name of the company?
It's called A Company. It's like ACC, A Company.
A Company, okay. Now, tell us a little bit about what you see today in terms of trends that interests you, where you think that there are going to be large companies? And of course, you know, when I ask this question to investors, the word that comes back inevitably is AI, but I want something more sophisticated, a more, you know, a deeper analysis from you.
How much more time do we have? I know you, I have a hard stop, so I know you have a bunch of other things to do on your call.
9, right?
Yeah.
You have a hard stop at 9. So let's spend 5 minutes on this, and then we'll switch to the entrepreneur pitches.
Okay. Repeat your question.
Question is, you know, there's a lot going on right now in the industry, and venture capital is it's a very mature market. It's a very well understood business model. Lots of players. The micro VC phenomenon has completely ballooned. The late stage capital has ballooned, you know, with SoftBank going completely wild with capital into the late stage. So given that setup, and given all the things that are happening in technology, AI, and so forth, how do you analyze your business, venture business, and where are the significant success stories going to come from, in your opinion, in your analysis?
Well, I think there are two reasons why I think venture capital, the industry has got so much capital coming in. One is, I think that's where the growth is. You know, I think everything now is software related. Every industry is software related. So the industry itself has become, the technology industry has become kind of very pervasive. You know, it's very, you know, whether it's autonomous cars or drones or healthcare or, you know, everything has technology in it, and therefore entrepreneurs who have some kind of a critical insight into that industry can now apply venture capital dollars against that industry. So I think that is what is exciting. And that is, because of that, I think the opportunity for venture capital, both for entrepreneurs and for venture capitalists, is much, much bigger than we have ever seen it before. Now, the cloud and the web have dramatically reduced or altered early stage economics. You know, in my day, when we had to kind of build something, we had to build a data center, build an engineering team, and do all that stuff. And it took a lot of capital. I remember when, by the time I got to scale, I'd already raised $25 million in the 90s. And you don't need that stuff anymore. You know, you can now, two people sitting in Vietnam can write a beautiful application using Google or Amazon AWS because the frameworks are built out where you don't need to do all that stuff anymore. You don't have to write your own application server like we did. You know, everything is open source is available. You can write quick applications, and you can do it from anywhere in the world. And so you have access to technology and access to frameworks and access to compute that didn't exist before. So the cost of capital, that's why early stage, which is seed stage, that's why there's so many micro VCs, because in SaaS, typically you don't have that the barrier to kind of building companies has dropped. And because of which, there is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that you have hundreds of micro VC funds, so there's more capital available, more choices available across the globe. But there are thousands of entrepreneurs with the same ideas. So, you know, it's very, you know, I always joke that when a company comes out of YC, there are 5 other companies starting all over the world that do exactly the same thing. And that's okay, you know, that's competition. It's like nobody's saying you have to be only original. And may the best entrepreneur win. So I think that is a phenomenon because of which you have a extreme amount of startup activity, and then at the later stage, you know, you have guys like bigger funds and the larger funds have the ability to sit back and watch for who's going to win, and then deploy that capital. So I think it's all good for the entrepreneur. The way I look at it is, it's never been a better time to build companies and the ability and to take risks, because you can get less diluted in the early phases. Unlike me, you know, we had so much dilution in the early phases. By the time the company got somewhere, you know, to like not much money left for the entrepreneur. But now you can kind of capture that. But the gauntlet that you have to go through is distribution. Making yourself different, making yourself unique, making yourself grow fast. If you can get there.
It's become very noisy. The web has become very noisy. So to get noticed for whatever it is that you're doing is a tough exercise, and you really have to understand how to.
Even in 2008, 2009, when Zendesk was starting up, there were, I think when we did our analysis, there were 25, 30 companies all over the world doing the same thing. It's like, why did Zendesk get through the gauntlet? They had a secret. They were unique. They understood that the 80% of the people just needed 20% of the functionality. And that, I think, is the unique understanding. And then understanding that email is a great way to build workflow. You don't need to kind of build your own workflow. So they had many secrets because of which they designed insights, because of which they designed the product the way they designed it, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we could go on and on, but I would like the entrepreneurs to have a chance to speak with you a little bit as well. So, folks, we are going to switch to the entrepreneur pitches. Before we do that, I want to set some expectations. This is a working session, so you can bring your problems, your issues, and we'll discuss candidly. There is no other agenda here but to help you accelerate your journey with some insights. Now, you may disagree with the feedback you hear. That's fine. It's your business. You will make the strategic decisions eventually. One thing you have to understand, not all businesses can raise money, not all businesses should raise money, and raising money doesn't guarantee success. So don't equate success with financing. Some businesses grow organically at a slower pace that doesn't fit the venture model, not operating with a very large TAM, but you can still find successful models of business through that path. So don't close yourselves off to those other possibilities. All right, so we're going to go to Udo Neustadter from Ottawa, Canada. Udo, please unmute your line and tell us what you're doing.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay. Hi, how is everyone? So I'm Udo, and I'd like to introduce you to Fixed Solutions. I'm the CEO at this company. So if you go to the next slide, I want to address a bit the market landscape. There are about 2.1 billion smartphones out there that are producing a constant stream of location-based data, pictures, and videos.
Hey, Udo, for some reason you seem to be chopping up here. I can't hear you well.
Yeah, that's my feedback as well. So, Udo, can you just adjust your setup so that we can hear you better?
Are you on a cell phone?
All right. Yes, I'm on my cell phone, and is it working better now?
Yeah, it's working better. Thank you, Udo.
Well, let's see that it goes well. So as I was saying, there is a lot of data produced out there from cell phones, from surveillance cameras that push up their data into the cloud, as well as from these unnumbered IoT devices that are constantly streaming their sensor data to the cloud. Now, more and more companies are recognizing the value of all these data, and that's especially the case for companies doing compute-intensive applications like analytics, AI, fintech, biotech, and the like. By 2023, it's expected that the revenue from cloud storage will reach about $100 billion, coming from storing all these billions of terabytes that are produced and copied every year. So after many years working with Cloudline and data center connect optimization for storage, a year and a half ago, I started ESSi. We did our mission to dramatically and increase performance for large big data storage with our software-defined unified storage solution. We virtualize and unconstrain all available storage resources regardless of technology to enable the elasticized storage network. On the next slide, please. So what is the real problem right now? If we look at the last 5 years, AI has improved significantly. Everyone is talking. It's like a new gold rush. 500 times improvement in the performance of AlexNet training. AlexNet was the original neural network developed that started this new wave of AI right now. 10-time improvements last year alone with the new video cards coming along. But we don't see the same improvement in storage. In storage, after the initial transition has happened about 5 years ago to solid-state drives from spindles, from rotating disks, we see a flattening out of the performance improvements right now. And that's, this creates a gap and a huge, huge opportunity for us. So if we continue to the next slide. So what does performance mean? Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they tried to quantify it just a while back, but they tried to quantify and actually put a number behind, a cost number behind performance. And they found that slight degradation or improvement in performance, they affect 1% of sales at Amazon or 20% traffic at Google in queries. Huge values given their sizes and the amount of customers they have. If we continue. So here I put on the left-hand side, a picture I took probably less than a week ago at my local Costco warehouse. This is the USB-based storage available, 6 terabytes, costs about $100, $30 per terabyte in Canadian dollars, right? The problem with the storage or the performance of the storage is very low. We are looking at about 150 to 200 transactions a second. Now, the industry has developed different tiers of storage. Some of them are faster but more expensive, all the way to a RAM-based data solution, very fast, 10 million transactions a second, but it costs $10,000, the same unit of storage that I bought at Costco for $50 the other day. Very big gap, but it offers different performance. Now, these different performance reflect into silos. We can see hot storage, online storage, archiving storage. For performance storage, let's take an example of Facebook or Gmail, Google, the mail from Google application. There is the data that is popped, the viral feeds that are out there. They need to be accessed by many, many people, by many customers instantaneously. Right? Then you have the data that's accessed a bit more seldom. Your personal feeds that you did over the last week, you review them from time to time, things like that. But who is looking at the information that was provided a year ago? Very few accesses to that. That's the archiving solution. The problem with this, however, is that, first of all, a good system design that precludes a full utilization of your resource. You have inefficiency because of partial utilization of your particularly expensive resources. Then you have inefficiency due to misplacing of the data. If you move something that is still hot into online storage, then it becomes much slower to access and to hit the beat that Google and Amazon did, and it might affect them like that. And then, of course, you have all this management that is either developed in-house through resources, or you buy an application from a third party, or it's just done by people actually moving data across and spending time on this. Very inefficient. So if we move to the next slide. Not only is the problem with disparity, but as people try to aggregate so they can share, they can virtualize the individual storage needs in pools of storage available, the cost of the same unit of storage, the same terabyte increases as the size of the solution increases. And systems from HP or Dell or NetApp or the leaders in storage right now are typically more than 20 times more expensive than the actual cost of storage itself. Well, that's not with us. That's not the case with us. Does this make sense so far?
Yes, but you're going to need to speed up and get to some, there are several other presenters, so you're going to need to speed up and get to what you are doing, what specifically is the value proposition of this company.
All right, so that's exactly what we're doing. This slide right here is what we're doing. We are unifying we are unifying all these tiers of storage into one fast, large pool of storage. We virtualize and unconstrain all available resources, and we create optimizations due to parallelism, caching, protocol delayering to eliminate all the problems that I described in the previous few slides. We allow the
do you have a competitive positioning slide? This is a crowded space, very crowded space. Do you have a slide where you can show the ecosystem map and where you fit in that?
Absolutely, slide 14. But first, why don't we show a bit how we make money? I think that's very important. So yes, if you go to our revenue model, right? This is a screenshot taken from the Amazon website. I just multiplied here. Well, I made it a bit larger and multiplied everything by 1,000. So we're not talking about cents, so we're talking about dollars and terabytes, which is more what companies are needing. So AI applications, they need fast-tier storage. In this case, it would be a solid-state disk drive. We are talking about $100 per month of terabytes. If paying attention on the previous slide with the cost, that means that in about 2 months, Amazon is recuperating the money of the storage itself. Now, if we move along to the next slide, what we are doing is we are taking the equipment needed, the cold hard disk equipment, for instance, needed for that. We put our software to parallelize it, to delayer it, to protocol delayer it, and maybe put some caching on top. And with that equipment that is sold at $25 per month today, we achieve the performance of equipment at SD grade. And our cost for our revenue for that is at 50 cents per terabyte month, compared with the $25 or $100 that Amazon is charging. So yes, let's move along. Our go-to-market, we are starting with our local geography companies that are doing AI. Our targets are actually the Googles, the Amazons of the world that are offering services to AI companies. And we believe that we have to go to storage system vendors like Dell or HP to actually get into the Googles and the Amazons of the world. There are technology changes that make this possible. One of them is the Optane, which you see on the left-hand side there. There's a new solid-state technology, it's not silicon-based. And a big characteristic of that is that it improves durability. If you buy your laptop storage today, it's guaranteed for 3 years at a full ride of the drive every third day. Well, that's not working at the data center where things are very dynamic. Optane changes that you can write it 1,000 times a day with no problem. The next thing is the change in the storage media. It moves from a disk format into PCIe form factor. This is important because it allows for multi-lane access to the storage. It started with 2, now it's 4 in the latest NVMe drive. And the next advancement was the network, the interconnect. We are talking about 100 gigabit Ethernet or 100 gigabit speeds of accessing storage. They're built onto the server defaults of 10 gigabit are too slow for storage. They never scale. And the price erosion between the 100 gigabit and the 40 allows to jump straight into 100 gigabit Ethernet today. All right, next. So that's the competitive slide here. So as competition, we are looking at particularly the shared accelerated storage. This is storage that is fast, typically all flash arrays, and shared, meaning that people are building storage arrays that are exposed as resources to containers or to virtual machines or where they are used. Yes. So starting from the right-hand side, few of them are large and are multi-rack size. Most of them are limited to or a couple of boxes.
I need to cut out Smirna.
Okay, go ahead. Thanks for coming, Devdutt. We'll catch up later.
Thank you. Yeah, bye-bye.
Udo, I have one feedback for you here, which is, I'm not an expert, obviously, in how customers are evaluating these storage solutions, the thing that I would like to hear here is what customers are using to evaluate their storage solutions. Is this the metrics that customers are using to evaluate the storage solution? And have you had customer conversations around this metrics?
Not today, but we are looking for. One thing, however, that for a fact, like Dell EMC, their marketing slides with their new PowerMax solution is all about performance, all about scale, and they are limited significantly into what we can provide. Now, they are limited if you look at the silo of hot storage. Yes, that's good enough for hot storage because hot storage is could be considered smaller. We try to unify that and not make it a silo, not make it a rigid wall where the solution ends.
But my question is, Udo, when customers that you want to reach, when they're evaluating their storage solutions, are these the criterion on the basis of which they're going to choose their solution? And without talking to customers, you will not be able to answer this question. So one of the first, action items I would suggest you take from this conversation is to take this and start having customer conversations to understand, are you solving the right problem?
That's exactly what we're doing. We are actually right now in a pre-production test with a local partner here for pooling RAM resources. As I mentioned, that's the $10,000 per terabyte resource, very expensive. It's more of a side or more of an odd case of storage RAM. That's what we are doing. We are starting to work with.
That's not what I'm saying. I don't think you're hearing me. I'm saying that go find 50 storage buyers in your target audience and discuss what are their criteria for purchase. You don't need to do any technology development for that. You need to go sit down and talk to 50 customers to validate. What I'm missing here is a clear sense of customer validation.
All right. Yes, that's work in progress. That is work in progress. Okay. Absolutely.
I would say that is your primary action item at the moment. I wouldn't spend a lot of time doing anything other than that at the moment.
Okay. All right. So like I said, we are working with a partner to validate RAM pooling for their data. Working with another, we are starting to work with another partner to validate sharing spindles. We are looking at all kinds of solutions. One of the things, however, that is very important to remember is that our cost does not increase. It's the 50 cents per month or $5 per year solution that we provide that no one can provide today for accelerated storage. You can get object storage that is not growing as fast as this, but for storage of high performance that's needed for AI applications, for analytics and modeling and all that, no one provides it at the rate that is flat. That's cost of hardware plus.
But you have to, I mean, the kinds of people that you're talking about, Google and Facebook and all that, they have, in a sense, cost is less of an issue for them, and two, they're completely at the cutting edge and they always get the best engineers and the best everything to get to the metrics that they want to get to. So I'm more interested in customers that are not Google and not Facebook, who can validate your product and its offerings and its differentiation and tell you what is it that their storage purchase criteria is going to be. Okay?
That's right. Yes, I understand that, and we are going to work on that. Yes, now, why do we believe that? We have a very unique background. We are coming from a networking background where transactions per second are measured in millions at much lower bandwidth than what storage has. It's a comparison between 64 bytes and 4,000 bytes. That's the multiplication factor for that. We are very lean. We have a very large team, however. We virtualize our CFO functions. We are working with partners for intellectual property, for corporate law, and the likes. We have been to plenty of startups between Ed and myself, our CTO and myself. We've taken about 8 products from nothing, from a napkin drawn design, all the way to the Google or the Comcast of the world and the likes of the service providers. We've worked with these companies, and we believe we have a very strong play. And
okay.
that's
validate. My feedback to you is validate. I think what's missing here is validation. So the minute you start talking to investors, you're going to need validation, feedback, and in fact, to be able to get customers to work with you, I strongly suggest you don't do huge amounts of development without customers in the loop.
all right.
All right.
Great.
Thank you, Udo. Good luck. We're going to switch to Martin Nygate, or Nygate.
Good morning.
How do you say? Good morning.
Yes,
Nygate. That's a British accent right there.
It is, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening from Singapore. So, hi. You're very familiar with this market space. I came across your article earlier this week, so you're very familiar with this market. So I'm going to skip through the slides pretty quickly, since you're
talking about the
RingCentral
article.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let me just quickly run through these slides with you. Basically, we are a licensed telco here in Singapore. We have a license from the Singapore government to provide telecommunication services, which means that we are like Singtel, StarHub, Airtel, Reliance, or a conventional telco. The importance of that will become relevant in a moment or two. What we provide is a fully featured cloud-based PBX for companies both in Singapore and outside of Singapore. The value proposition for those that are not familiar with this market is very simple, in that 90% of all companies still have on-site or what's called on-prem PBXs. They cost between $20,000 to $30,000. What we provide is a full functionality of a high-end PBX with zero capital investment. So when a company wants to buy, replace, or upgrade their PBX, there really is a very little choice. Either you spend $30,000 or you come to Velox and you can get it with a zero capital investment. If you scroll to the
companies like RingCentral are not selling in the Southeast Asia market?
Absolutely not. So now I'll explain to you why that is, since you've asked. There's a very big difference between the markets in Southeast Asia, in fact in the whole of Asia, and in the EU and in Europe and in the USA, and that is due to deregulation. You see, in the USA and in the EU, there is very lax regulation. So doing what RingCentral and 8x8 are doing can be done virtually by anyone. However, in Southeast Asia, and in fact in the whole of Asia, including in India, to do what they are doing, you need to have a license from the government.
Okay, so that's the secret of your license strategy. Okay, got it?
Indeed. Now, a license is regarded as a national asset. It took us 7 months of hard work to obtain the license from the Singapore authorities. We got the license about just over a year ago. We immediately launched. We now have over 70 paying customers with over 1,000 licenses deployed. And within 8 months from launch, so by December of last year, we were already cash flow positive. So that, in essence, is the company. It's extremely simple.
And where are you currently? What's the stage?
So we've, you talked before about validation. It is validated. In fact, about 40 to 50% of our new customers are coming through referrals. You can hear from the quality of this call. I'm currently calling on the Velox network, and I'm calling from Singapore. This call is costing me next to nothing, and the call quality, as you can hear, is pretty good. This is what you should expect from any telco anywhere in the world, but most telcos cannot provide this type of call quality simply because they have a combination of analog and digital systems, whereas we are purely digital. Okay? The way that we operate, if you keep it on that slide for a moment, the way that we operate is we charge in US dollars, $12.50 per user per month. And that provides them with a full functionality of their high-end PBX, including call recording, voicemail to email, email to fax, groups, auto-attendant, everything you would need for that $12.50. And just to give you some idea of the unit economics, our cost is around about just slightly under $4, and it's going down. The call costs, we make 100% margin on the call costs. So in terms of revenue we're doing and profitability, this is an absolute goldmine. This is the main reason why we were able to break even within the first 8 months of operations.
Great.
Okay. So where we are right now is that we're basically bootstrapped. So we have raised a little bit of money. We raised about $160,000 US quite some time ago, but of course that ran out pretty quickly. So we've been bootstrapped, and we are currently bootstrapped. We are a team of 6 people, but we need to grow rapidly, and we need to grow, and we need funding to grow rapidly. And that's the stage that we are in right now.
And what is the customer acquisition strategy? Where are you acquiring customers? How are you acquiring customers?
Incredibly simple. So first of all, we do a lot of email blasts on a daily basis. Besides things like, if you leave it on that slide, and I'll come back in a second. So we do email blasts, we do Google AdWords, and so on. We get leads coming, inbound leads every day. Now, to give you some idea of the conversion and how this works, if you wanted to, I can give you a demo right now over the phone, and within 20 minutes, you'll fully understand the value proposition of the Velox platform.
It's a relatively easy product to sell. I know that from the RingCentral story.
Incredibly easy. So we get people who see it in the morning, they'll sign the contracts in the afternoon, and the next day they'll have the phones already there, ready to use. The phones themselves are pre-provisioned, so all they need to do is to plug them into the LAN network or the Wi-Fi network, and they can immediately make calls.
So you have this revenue number. What is the monthly recurring revenue right now?
It's about 30,000 Sing dollars.
30,000, okay. All right,
yeah,
got it. So the thing
that slide you're looking at. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go on. I was going to say that you know, there are a few things missing from the slide presentation. The market is understood. You know, I think the market. There's a need for this product and so forth. That's kind of understood. I think it's more the go-to-market strategy that needs to be articulated better in how are you going to build a high-velocity company? Where are you going to build this company? You know, what is the, when you say you're doing email blasts to whom? What email lists, and how are, you know, what are the conversion rates and so forth. So there's a whole bunch of questions, but overall, I think yes, it is a very simple product. I'm surprised that the product is not there in Asia. It sounds like you found a gap, and I'm just interested in understanding. And investors would need to understand why that market is underserved in Asia, and what are the entry barriers. So that's, I mean, but bottom line, it's a good business. You've got it going, you've got it actually ramping and so forth. So that all that is very good. All that is going to be looked at very, very positively in an investor discussion.
Okay, let me just touch on 2 points. First of all, the go-to-market strategy. Yes, we have a database of 130,000 email addresses for Singaporean businesses in Singapore. And we use that on a daily basis. We send out 5,000 emails a day. That gives us 2 or 3 inbound leads a day, which we then convert. What we need the money for is, in fact, for marketing. You see, the go-to-market strategy is that there are you know, hundreds of people every day that are looking to buy, replace, or upgrade a PBX. And they inevitably gravitate towards the on-prem PBXs because they simply are not aware of us. What we need is the funding for the marketing, for the sales and marketing to create that awareness.
But to get the funding, you're going to need to present a clear strategy. And there are, right now, everything you're saying is kind of 30,000-foot level, because 150,000 email addresses is not going to be, it's not going to get you to the kind of scale, right? Because you're talking about a $12, 95 cents a month kind of product per user, right?
Yes, with a margin of that $12, $4
is the cost. It's not a question of margin. It's a question of what does it take? What is the average deal size in the business that you're closing? What is the average deal size? And typically the issue with small average deal size businesses that you have to be able to close these online, and all these demoing and all. If you have to do this even by phone, that is a problem from a profitability point of view. It's not going to be scalable. So you have to figure out ways to be able to sell it completely, complete the sale online.
Okay, so first of all, the average size, this is a key component. So if you look at companies like Grandstream who manufacture IP phones, their average installation is 30 phones. If you look at companies like Cisco, which are more high-end, then they're dealing with hundreds. Now, we already have companies that have hundreds of licenses, and we're working with companies that we've already deployed trial installations, and they're looking at hundreds and hundreds. So we have to understand as well that it is the number of licenses
That's
per
fine.
customer.
If you're doing deal sizes that are sizable and you can justify doing telesales, and that is how RingCentral has built their businesses, that is fine. So these 150,000 email addresses, are they email addresses of a certain category of customers?
Yes, yes, and that's the easy part. These are companies, these are SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises in Singapore, named individuals, and there's many lists that you can buy. But what we need to understand as well, and this is exactly how RingCentral built it up, but we're slightly different in that the cost of the telemarketing, just to give you some idea, I have a telemarketer who sits in the Philippines, and I pay her about $300 US a month. And she closes business over the phone. Now, because she has a Velox phone and she works from her home office in the island of Negros or another one in the island of Cebu, and they work from their home office with a call quality exactly the same as this, and with a Singapore DID coming up, that means to say that my cost of sale is incredibly low. The sales cycle, and my background, I've been in sales and marketing for over 30 years, the sales cycle is incredibly simple and incredibly fast and virtually cost-free.
No, I think more or less, I don't have any problems with your business because I know the business. I know. I'm just surprised that business is not happening already. So, Martin, I'm going to have to stop you there because I have two other people that I need to work with. So, if there's time, we can talk more at the end of the session. But I'll explain also how to use 1Mby1M for the kinds of things that you are looking for help in. I'll explain that in a bit.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Balaji, you're up next.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay. Hi, guys. So, it's Balaji, VMware. We built a product. You can move on to the next slide. Next slide. We built a planet-scale cybersecurity operation platform. You can think it of as a planet-scale cybersecurity defense platform. So what we generally, probably you can move on to the next slide. So what generally is there is an exponential growth in the security events seen in the public clouds. Every third day you get to see some breaches, and pretty much the speed in which the breach happens is rapidly fast. The biggest problem the enterprises are facing is they don't have a threat intelligence to solve any kind of this problem, and they cannot manually correlate this threats across various spheres. If they have to do a lot of manual processing. So what our solution is, probably you can move to next slide. So this is how the current scenario looks. So because of these barriers, it roughly takes 6 months to detect if anybody intrudes into your cloud infrastructure. So our solution, you can move on to the next slide. Yeah, our solution, what it does is it pretty much builds this AI pipeline where you could able to detect threats in real time. So basically we classify, based on the logs that we aggregate, we classify the patterns and all those stuff. We classify anything that we see as a suspicious, anomalous threat, and rest of it. And we have every server, every logs. There are billions of logs, so no human can go through this. So that is the AI engine that we have built in simple terms, classifying it.
Where is the competitive positioning slide?
Yes, if you can go back to the next slide. Next slide, you will see the competitive position. There you go. So these are the competitors who are there. The Splunk, Alienwald, Anomaly, FireEye. So these are all enterprise products, the enterprise model. So they sell to the enterprise has to buy it, deploy it, manage it, and that takes 6 months to deploy and all the stuff. So what we have built is, we have built a next-gen SaaS platform, pretty much like a Slack. You just launch it, immediately you start aggregating the logs, and you immediately see which is a threat and which is a non-threat. It's that simple. There's one simple dashboard, and immediately, and we have built a multi-tenancy, so we can scale massively to one customer to 10, 100, and 10,000 customers massively. So we can think it of as a cloud native cloud-native cyber defense system. So that's what.
And do you have customers yet?
Yes, we have few customers. So one of the customers is NextGen, Bangalore. Now we are working with ControlX and Tech Mahindra as well. So they like the product. So the basic thing is, in this case, any product that enterprise product that we talk about, the competitors, it takes 6 months for them to deploy, manage, and the people required to manage it is expensive. So and even then there's a security analyst who has to come sit and manage it. And even if you do all these things, you really are not going to detect the threat. So we basically automated everything end to end, so no human touches in between. And it immediately launches in less than 10 minutes and immediately starts seeing the threat dashboards.
But if it's detection, what happens with that? Once it's detected, what happens?
Once it detects, the regular security engineer takes over, and there are some standard procedures, whether he has to shut it out. Even there, we made some automation so that you could able to reach the server quickly.
Okay, so you're
and try to
feeding the threats to the security engineers for them to solve manually.
Exactly, that's right. They solve manually, and there are playbooks that we have created, which they can do it again and again and again. So everybody can have a same common.
How big a company is FlexiLoans?
FlexiLoan is a small company on AWS. Basically, they are a top fintech in India. So we just deployed on their server. Actually, the typical customers like ChargeBees, FlexiLoans, RazorPay, those are all the customers. So what we have done is we have built a network.
Are you an Indian company, Balaji? You're in North Carolina. Is this company in India?
No, it's not Carolina company, but our development happens there, so it just happens to be we reached out to
development is in India. So why is it that the customers are Indian customers?
Oh, I had a network, so I just happened to tap into the network. So we didn't have a sales team, sales and marketing team. Slowly, we are trying to build that sales and marketing team, and that's where investment is going to come. But as far as the go-to-market strategy is concerned, our personalized CSO and the fintech customers, fintechs and banks are really the people who really understand this technology. They need the technology. They need some way to control, manage, and try to see what is happening, what anomalous behavior is happening in their infrastructure. So right now we're selling directly to the customers, but still we have not started full scale. We are just slowly reaching out to various customers through accelerators, through networks, those kind of stuff.
So what is this? Talk about the pricing model.
Yes, our pricing model is roughly around $50 to $100 per server, or in
what does it mean per server? Per server that you're monitoring?
Yes, per server per month. Yes.
So per server per month?
That's right, yes. But
we don't have that. You have 50 to 100 per server. What? How many servers would a company typically have when you're monitoring on behalf of a customer in the target audience that you're talking about?
So anybody who has more than 50 million in revenue, 50 million in revenue, they would have at least 50 customers. So basically, we categorize into less than 50 servers, 50 to 250, and above 250 servers. So anybody who has a 50 million revenue will very naturally fit in the 50 to 250 segment. And anybody who...
And so what does that roll up to be an average deal size?
Average deal size would be roughly around $25,000. That's what it would mean.
So 36-month contract is $25,000.
That's right. Yes. No, that per month. That's where there are some other. Usually we aggregate various other logs as well. So that's the average price point. So that's the direct sales model, and that's the go-to-market strategy. And the most important thing is we have few customers. We want to see how we can raise more capital and try to start planning out our sales and marketing channel.
And what is in North Carolina?
North Carolina. So basically, I live in North Carolina. I live in Cary.
And are there other people in North Carolina, or the entire team other than you is in India?
Other than me, everybody is in India. It's just.
And how big is the team?
We have around 6 to 7 people.
Where?
In Hyderabad and Bangalore.
I see. Okay, got it. Got it. So there are a few things that you still need to work on, which is creating a bottom-up TAM analysis. And there needs to be a sales strategy, go-to-market strategy. This is not sufficient to be able to explain your sales strategy. So there's work that needs to be done because, you know, cybersecurity is an incredibly competitive space, and it's very, very difficult to, it's one of the most active areas of venture capital. The maximum number of companies that get funded probably in venture capital fall in a few categories. Cybersecurity is definitely one of them. So it's competitive, but it's good that you're getting to customers, you're getting traction, you're getting validation, and so on and so forth. So we can do something with all that. And so hang on, let me listen to the next pitch, and then we're going to, I'll explain to you how to use 1Mby1M to get further help. Okay, Pratik Babri from Delhi, are you on the call?
Hi.
Go ahead, Pratik.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Tell us what you're working on.
Pardon?
Tell us what you're working on.
Yeah, so my slides are not as fancy as people before me. I just followed Maureen's instruction on how to pitch to you, and then sort of made this entire thing.
Go on.
So what we are doing is that we are trying to basically instill a level of credibility and trust on the users on the platform. We saw that there is a massive trust gap on the platforms like matrimony, dating, primarily matrimony and dating, because people do get duped on those platforms on regular basis. Recently, there was a news about in India that a girl got murdered because she went on a guy got killed because on a Tinder date. So we realized that there is a massive trust gap between two users. What generally happens is when you transition from online to offline, you don't know what's the background of that person you are meeting is. That's a space, that's a gray area where a lot of people take advantage of it, and criminal activities also happen in this particular space. So what we thought that we can build.
How are you going to address that? How does an API address that?
Yeah, okay. So we have directly integrated with the platform, and we check credibility of people and predict their trustworthiness based on their publicly available data. So the first part of the product is Aadhaar. To scale the product pan-India and to add a very credible source, we have essentially built our product entirely on Aadhaar so that we can get a very credible data, a very starting point to check if that person is who he or she is. And then we look out for their credential all over different platforms and check if those matches, and then we pull out their comments and whatnot, whatever we can find, and we run our algorithm on it and try to predict if that person is trustworthy or not.
I'm not sure how credible that algorithm is that you just described, but okay, let's for a moment assume it is. So go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So the general how you generally do it is eventually, let's take Tinder. The general layout of Tinder is that you sign in with Facebook, and soon after that you have to enter the Aadhaar number, and that is it. That is all you have to do. Generally on not essentially on Tinder, on Indian dating apps, you generally have to take a picture of your government ID and put it and send that ID to them, to the platform itself, and that's a very tedious process. It's entirely manual, and it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of labor. So we essentially cut out the onboarding process too for those platform itself, and then we regularly monitor users and check if there is any discrepancy in their credentials. And as soon as we find that there is something, we immediately notify the platform and tell them that you might want to take a different approach with this kind of user.
So Pratik, I'm going to start giving you a bit of feedback.
Okay.
So you have to go to market in partnership with other platforms, right? If you have to be integrated into dating platforms and so on and so forth, and I think you're going to need to find 1 or 2 platforms that are willing to test this with you to get some credibility going, because hold on, the first question mark, and it's a very large question mark looming over this, is does this work? You know, this, you're saying that you can do verification. Does this really work? Is this credible? So that is the first question that you're going to need to answer.
Yeah, so we have integrated with two dating platforms. One is Nolo and one is Gojek. They both do online to offline transition of people essentially. So we have tested our, and we have piloted on their platform. Now we are integrating with the Matrimony website that has a considerable amount of users. So yeah, we have validated the market in this sense, and we have given them, we have actually saved them a lot of time, because most of the time what happens is that their users sign up, but they have to wait for close to a week so that they can use their service essentially, because the entire process is manual. They have to check, they essentially have to take the picture and then match it from the government records, and that's a tedious process.
So my point is, you need to do 2 things. One, you need to get a bunch of potential partners to work with you, and 2, you need to run your software on their data and see if it actually works. And that's going to take some time. You're going to need some, you know, several months worth of data to be able to see whether it is actually working or not. And that's the first thing that you need to do. I don't think you're going to get anywhere. I mean, is your software transferable? Your question about playing outside India, is your software, can you apply your software to any type of geography? There's nothing India specific, right? It's social media data, isn't it?
Yeah. So currently we are actually getting queries from US, but we are currently focusing on India because we have already made India-centric solution, so to speak. But yeah, we are getting.
What is India-centric about the solution?
So we do not know how US functions, so to speak.
Okay, fine.
We know what
India-centric solutions, but you have to get to a point where it works, and that's the key question that you're going to get. So leave in the US out for the time being and just get those 10 customers and see if it works. You know, if you're saying that you are getting inbound queries, that means there is demand, right? People have this problem. The kinds of companies that you want to work with have this problem. So go sell to 10 customers and see if your technology actually works.
Okay. Sure.
That's the first step.
Yeah, we have actually worked with 2 customers, and then we are still there are dating and matrimony platforms that are in pipeline that we are approaching, and the other avenue that we are also to work on is the HR space, where we can essentially tell companies if the kind of people they are hiring, and for that we have partnered up with 2 pan-India employee verification services to give our piece of software to essentially to sell their clients and for them to upsell their entire product, the online verification and our offline verification, the entire product.
All right. So I think, as I said, validation is your first thing. Pricing, I need more time to work with you on pricing. There's a whole bunch of things that you need to understand about pricing here, and I can't cover that in the next, 2 minutes. I have to. So why don't you hang on? Let me explain to you how to use 1 million by 1 million. If you decide that you want to use 1 million by 1 million, I'll help you further for sure. So folks, if you like what we're doing here, as you can see, it's very hands-on, really nitty-gritty business building issues. That's what we deal with here. If you like what we do, bring serious entrepreneurs into 1 million by 1 million. That is our main call to action to you in terms of help that we need. Now, as far as the resources are concerned, everything is at 1Mby1M.com. You'll find a blog that is extensive, and you will it's not foo-foo little bits and pieces. It's like, this interview that you've listened to today with Devdutt Yellurkar, that kinds of interviews, we have numerous interviews like that, and just following that kind of in-depth discussion will give you insights into how people are thinking. We also have the Entrepreneur Journeys book series. There are 12 volumes. You can learn from those. There are also case studies and interview-based books, 12 to 16 case studies per book, and each deals with a particular topic. These roundtables happen every week, and the recordings are all available. These are also great learning materials. Our full acceleration program is 1M/1M Premium. So wherever you need help, whether you need help with financing, whether you need help with positioning, whether you need help with competitive analysis, pricing, you need to learn methodology, and where you need coaching and mentoring and consulting, this is your ideal solution. So methodology guidance, we have an extensive online curriculum that deals with particular methodology elements. We help you with business development to the extent the people you're trying to reach for business development purpose are within our network. You have access to our entire Rolodex. And then we have private versions of these strategy roundtables as part of the premium program as well. Where you need financing, we will get you to a point where we consider you fundable with all the pieces in place, and we'll work with you through that. And then when you're ready, we'll introduce you to investors. And then there is media relations. We have a lot of clout in the media. Getting the word out about what you're doing is important, and we help you with that as well. The self-assessment is something that's available on the blog for free, on the website for free. Ask yourself those questions. These are the questions that you need to answer in having a clear strategy. These are the questions investors are trying to answer. 1M/1M Basic is what you go to if you are getting stuck on these questions. There are methodology gaps. In first-time entrepreneur's journey is complex, steep learning curve. There are methodology gaps. Easy way to plug that would be by doing 1M/1M Basic and studying the curriculum. So go dig around on the website, understand how the program works. There are lots of video FAQs, descriptions of the curriculum. We are a case study-based program. Over 800 successful entrepreneurs have built this program, and their case studies, their methodologies are all incorporated into the program structure. You get to stand on the shoulders of giants and who have done things before, and they have shared generously how they've done it. Our methodology is bootstrap first, raise money later. It's lean, capital efficient bootstrap startups, and then that makes getting to funding much easier should you choose to pursue funding. That's pretty much it. We have 2 roundtables more in July and then 4 roundtables in August. So plenty of opportunities to engage further this summer still. And we also have a few more rendezvous. We had one last night. We also have on July 25th, August 7th, and August 29th. So any of these are available to you as touch points through which you can interact with us. That is all. You can call in or ask questions in public chat, and I will be happy to take questions either from the phone or from public chat. And you can also contact Irina Patterson, irina@1M/1M.com, to ask questions about the 1M/1M program. Questions, comments, introductions? If you want to introduce yourselves, feel free.
Hi, Ravana. Probably I will try to get in touch with you over email. It's great to know you. I've been following you since Forbes column that you started writing. It's for a long time.
Right.
Somehow I didn't connect with you when I started my startup. It would have been, it's been more than 2 years I've been in this journey, but somehow I'm not pulling my strings through. So it has been, but I still keep reading your columns, your interviews and all this stuff. But I want to take some help
come to
from
the program and let's work together to sort out your issues.
Sure. I'll drop in an email as well.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
But I am kind of, by the way, since you have some time, is it okay if I continue a little bit further?
It's 9:30 a.m., so I don't have a lot more time because I have a 10 o'clock meeting,
sure,
and I have to take care of something between now
sure.
and the 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So.
But I'll catch up with the email.
All right. Okay, well, thank you for coming, everybody. We'll see you next week, and let's continue working on your issues. As you can see, these are working sessions, so bring your work, let's work together and see if we can help you remove roadblocks or at least get clarity on what are the issues that you need to work on. Bye, everybody.
Sure.
Thank you.